Hello, everybody. It's great to be with you again for another Wednesday devotional. So, I've been thinking a lot the last few days as I've been able to hear sons and grandsons, friends and pastors speak in loving memory of the late Dale Gabriel, a life that we won't soon forget. And I too have decided that I'd like to take just a little time and recognize Dale, someone who I believe was a rare and precious shepherd of the Lord, a shepherd among men, a light for so many in this world. And, before I get too far ahead, for anybody out there who might be saying, well, I'm not really familiar with him, I encourage you to stick around because God used this man to positively affect many lives. And you never know, maybe God will use him again today in order to impact your life. So when I think of Dale, I think that he was definitely one of the most spiritual individuals that I've crossed paths with in my 42 years here on earth. And I've probably known Dale for, if I had to guess, 4 or 5 years now, maybe a little bit longer. But I've been able to thankfully recognize some gifts, some strengths that Dale has. And I'd like to just take a few minutes now and share 3 of those with you. The first one I'd like to share with you is the ability that Dale had to stay spiritually unified with his significant other. His ability to stay spiritually unified with his significant other. So my family, we were really blessed in regards that we sat directly in front of Dale and Gloria in church for a number of years. And over that period of time, I'd say every service, I would look back and stare at that couple about 3 times. Some of you are probably saying, well, why would you do that? Why would you be looking at them so much? And the answer is because they couldn't hear. We would sing about 3 hymnals each Sunday, and they never knew what song we were going to be singing. So I would turn back, and my family would turn back. It almost became a family ministry for someone in our family to find the page, to turn around, hand them the book, turn to it, and then to take their book, which was closed, back into our row. So, the thing that I think back on now and never really realized that when it was happening was when you notice somebody who isn't aware of what song we're going to be singing, a lot of times they begin to panic. That individual, it's almost like they start to lose their motor skills. They're fumbling around with their hymnal. They're frantically flipping through pages back and forth. And then, of course, you see them. They're looking right and they're looking left, and they're peering over the shoulder of the person in front of them, and they're looking back to the person behind them. They're just trying to sneak a peek at someone who knows what page we're on. And, I never saw any of that in all the times where I looked back at Dale and Gloria. Every time I looked back, there they were, together, smiling, happy. And I have no doubt that part of it was because they knew that once we started singing, that there was a good chance they were going to know that song and they'd be able to just start singing right with us. But there was more to it than just them being godly and righteous and faithful in knowing their hymns. When I looked at those two, you could clearly see unity and togetherness between the two, and that's so important. I want to share with you Matthew chapter 19, verses 5 and 6, where Jesus says, "For this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So then they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no man separate." When you saw Dale and Gloria, you saw one. You saw spiritual unity in the Lord. And that is the most important need for any marriage. You know, for a marriage to truly find success, for a marriage to truly find success, you've got to have that unity between the couple, but most importantly, you got to have that unity with the Lord, because the Lord is the key. He's the one that's really going to stamp off and leave that relationship with a seal of approval, and nurture that relationship between husband and wife and help that grow. And Dale and Gloria, you could clearly see in their marriage that they were spiritually unified, that they had grown together, and they were strong. And that's why, you know, even though this is a sad time where we've lost such a faithful man, it also is an exciting time, you know, because it excites me to think about those two together again. It excites me to think about where they're at right now and what they're doing. And you know, they both had such great smiles, and I don't know if this makes any sense to you, but together their smiles were so much brighter, you know. And I picture them both right next to each other, smiling together. So the second strength, all right, that was the first strength. The second strength I wanted to talk about of Dale's is his ability to not be ashamed of the one who created him. His ability to not be ashamed of the one who created him. Paul wrote in Romans chapter 1 verse 16, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God to salvation for everyone who believes, for the Jew first and also for the Greek." You know, when it came to Dale, you could spot his loyalty for the Lord a mile away, and never once did I see him ashamed of his Savior. But you could see on the back of Dale's car his faithfulness to the Lord. You could hear in Dale's voice his faithfulness to the Lord, and you could feel it in Dale's hugs that he so often gave others. You could just feel the warmth and the connectedness to the Lord. And Dale encouraged so many to not be ashamed of the Savior, Jesus Christ. One of my most favorite ministries that Dale had or was a part of was his CAP ministry. You know, when he would come back from trips and he'd have a trunk full of spiritual hats back there, and it would have, some would have scriptures on it, some would just have catchy sayings, all relating to God the Father or Jesus the Son. And they were just real catchy, and they looked great, and anybody who wanted one, he would make sure that they got themselves a hat. And, I can only imagine that there were a lot of people that took that good news. I like to call them good news caps. They would take Dale's good news caps and they'd walk out in this dark world and they'd let that light shine above their head for others to see. And it reminded me of a time when I was just getting to know Dale and Gloria, and my family was at the Porter County Fair, and it was a very busy time. There were people going every which way. Kids were hollering and screaming, and it was noisy, and just out of the blue, I noticed this red cap, and on the top it said Jesus. And of course, then I looked down a little bit more and I realized that it's Dale. And I looked down to the side a little bit and there was Gloria. And then I believe walking with them was their son, Bill. And, that was the first thing I noticed, was that hat. Before I could even recognize Dale and Gloria, I took note of that hat, and I just wondered to myself, how many people out there take note of Dale's hats, when they walk by. Dale didn't hide who he was, what he was about, and most importantly, who his God is. And I never saw him ashamed. The third strength and last strength that I'd like to talk about was Dale's willingness to share the spiritual understanding that he had with others. To share the spiritual understanding that he had within him with others. Jesus gave all believers a very important command in Mark chapter 16, verse 15. Jesus said, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature." I believe it was that command that Dale placed the highest premium on. He seemed to always be ready and willing to go. And he had such a unique style of doing things. Right now, it's the Christmas season. We're celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. A lot of us are probably getting Christmas cards in through the mail. And it dawned on me that I won't be receiving a Christmas card from Dale this year. And it's sad because that was another one of Dale's ministries that he took great pride in. I have a few that I've saved that I'd like to share with you. None of us may be getting a Christmas card from him this year, but please share in with these great ones from the past. So here, this one was from last year, where Dale had a nice wreath, and Amy and I. Here's one from 2017 where he's got the whole family. You can see Amy pulling her hair out. You can see me sliding on the skateboard. Jamie's behind the tree, shocked, probably thinking that I'm going to fall on the skateboard. Lance is busy flying an airplane around the tree, and Courtney's off in the distance smiling as she takes in the living room and her family around her. And then perhaps my favorite card, I believe it was the first one that I got from Dale and Gloria. He did a great job of capturing their features. And then, of course, they've got a bouquet of flowers reached out. You know, it was a great honor for Dale to attend to matters within God's kingdom. And he took a very respectable approach, from what I could tell, with all the areas of his life when it came to functioning within God's kingdom. No matter if he was celebrating the birth of Jesus or if he was telling somebody about the freedom that comes through the cross at Calvary. Dale handled it all with such care. In closing, there was something that stood out as I watched Dale's funeral service from South Carolina. The minister who was performing the service, he said something that really hit home with me that I'd like to share with you. He said in so many words that when a man lays down, and when he talks about a man laying down, he's talking, of course, of Dale in this case, a righteous man, a godly man, a man who teaches and preaches. When a man like that lays down, it's up to others to pick up those good things that we've witnessed from that man. Pick them up and keep going in life. So, Dale, he showed a very high importance to be placed on his significant other, to having that unity between a man and a woman, and to more importantly have that unity between a marriage, and to have that unity with the Lord as well. Dale wasn't ashamed to stand up for his God and for what was right. And Dale placed a premium on sharing Jesus with others. You know, if we can take those three strengths that Dale was good at, if we could do those half as good as he could, we'd be in a pretty good place. But all three of those are very important. We all need to reflect on how important those three areas are in our lives. And we want to try to strengthen them if possible. We've had one of the best in Dale lay down. And I hope that we're all ready to pick something up from his life and carry it on with us. Thank you.